Good afternoon and welcome to your daily support call. My name is Marcus from How To Project. Today we have the very wonderful, talented Uppheka Jain with us. Give us a little introduction to yourself, please.
Hey, Marcus. First of all, thank you for having me on this platform with you and reaching out to all those people that you reach out to and do such a wonderful job of doing. A little bit of background on myself. I moved back to Toronto about a year and a half ago, and I used to be in a very different world in the entertainment TV world, soap opera world of Bollywood. And then I moved over here and I happened to land on a gig with the government. So now I work as the cultural media and outreach lead for the current provincial government. So it is nice to be able to go to, well, not now, but it was nice to be able to go to Queen's Park every morning and to know that this is like, my new place of work. Okay, that's really quickly a bit about me.
Feel free to expand on it if you want. If not,
You know me, Marcus. I could talk for a long time, but I don't know. Don't want to
okay.
do that.
So let's pick up on an amazing phrase you just said. It's a very different world. And you were referring to, being back in Bollywood originally, being very successful there, transitioning over to government work, very different worlds indeed. And yet here we are again, all of us in a different world. And I think that's one of the main topics that everyone's talking about. And as you know, the whole point of what we're doing is to understand what that's been like for people from very different walks of life. So
Right.
tell us a bit about that. Like, let's back up a step. What were some of the challenges you faced coming back to Toronto originally and transitioning from the old life to the new?
Oh, okay. That is a conversation I could absolutely have for hours because I had grown up in Toronto and so all my life I had been here. So moving over there and spending 8 years in Bombay, that was a transition of like a paramount transition for me because I thought I was, Indian, like Indian background. But when I got there, I realized I was completely Canadian and didn't understand anything that it was to live life in India. But after 8 years, I figured it out. And then moving from that life back here, it was a big reacclimatization for myself, not only with people, because that's really important. So it was so great, I must say, to be back with family and friends and to be able to attend bridal showers and birthday parties and things like that, which I wasn't able to for 8 years. Well, not, I attended major events, but not all of them. But it was also a very different lifestyle. I think when you're an artist and you are living that life, you are working for yourself and you're living on your own terms, and your schedule is also largely determined by yourself and what you want to do and how much time you want to schedule is completely up to yourself. But coming back here, I realized that the majority of people, and especially within my circle of friends, were all very regimented in terms of the type of corporate jobs that they had. They're all very, very successful individuals, but not many entrepreneurs, but a lot of people who get up and go to work, have office jobs and things like that. And so having to deal with that schedule, like they laissez-faire, do what you want kind of gal, and call people up last minute because that's just the way things were. And then I came back over here where I had to schedule dates with my girlfriends for like a month or 2 months in advance. And I was like, what is this? Have you completely lost the whole living in the moment, right? And like we getting too overscheduled as a society, which I didn't like. But now having gotten back into this world and much like them in a bit of an office job. I mean, though government is very different. It's not like your typical corporate office. I understand the need to schedule out in advance now. Do I love it? Not so much. So for me, it's always trying to find that balance between living in the moment and being flexible, but also planning and scheduling.
Yeah, it's actually funny. My life's gone the same way, and I hadn't shared too much about this. We've talked
Mm,
recently on here about how important blocking of time is and scheduling of time
yes.
is for creating
Yes.
regular routines, whether it's work related, fitness, spirituality. What is your daily morning practice of gratitude? All of these things. We've
So
talked a lot
important.
about that. We've even gotten into the differences between Einstein time and Newtonian time. So, do you book things
Hmm.
from 9 to 10 a.m., or do you simply say in the morning, I need an hour to accomplish something? So just all these different techniques and tips. And
Hmm.
what I haven't shared with people watching this yet is that my life, and people know this, it gets busy sometimes, right? And it gets
Yeah.
overcomplicated. And then that's when we have a need for scheduling. And I kind of used it as an excuse, even with you, but I make it a rule. If it's not in my calendar, then I will not remember it. It does not happen. So I'm
Mm.
notorious for my
I have to
2 minute
get
rule.
better with that. Even if stuff is in my calendar, Marcus, I'm like, ah, but no. So I have to get better with that.
Well, and yeah, and there's tools for that. I've been testing a tool recently that actually sends me an email every night to tell me what meetings I have scheduled for the
For
next
the
day.
next day, that would be helpful for me. Yeah, I think I need to know that because,
Well, I'll share that
yeah.
with you after, no problem.
Hmm.
And it's wonderful because then it tells me if I've double booked myself, and I can instantly just reschedule or whatever, or I can email people. They get the reminder as well that we have a meeting booked. So I love automating things, and unfortunately, it's even happened with you sometimes. If it's I didn't put it in the calendar for whatever reason, then I'm suddenly getting that call of hey, are you showing up? And I'm like, oh no, I'm not. So yeah, sometimes we do get over busy, and I do see the need for balance because being spontaneous is wonderful. Now, that was the old world until about a month ago. So as someone
Hmm.
very familiar with an entire culture shock of
Yeah.
adapting and transitioning and then crushing it, right? Like being one of the
Right.
rising stars in Bollywood and being there on, I think, one of the most popular soap operas that they've had.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah, it
I mean,
was.
even my mother-in-law knows who you are, right? So that's a big deal. My
That
Canadian,
says a lot.
right, well, it does. So my, just again for people that don't know, my wife is from Pakistan, from Karachi, and they moved here long ago. But my mother-in-law still watches the soaps. So when she saw a
As
picture of us
many
on
people
Facebook,
do.
yeah,
Yeah, as many
she was
people
like,
do.
"What is she doing with her? She's such a bad girl." Right? That's what she said, because there's the character versus the actress, right?
The actress,
Yeah.
exactly, versus a person. And because many people get so ingrained into soap operas, they actually think that the people who act like those characters embody those very traits, which is quite funny.
I mean, we all do that. Like, even myself, I have that Superman fascination. And when I see Henry Cavill in any role but not Superman, I'm like,
You're like,
doesn't make sense
no,
to me.
no, it doesn't, right?
Because he is Superman. So I get it. So here we are a month ago.
Hmm.
Everything's normal. Life is good. We're working regularly. And then bam, another big world transition. And, for
Hmm.
us, we talked about this before. We've always been a remote project management company. So for us, we transitioned overnight with no issue at all. Not
Okay,
everyone's
yeah,
been that fortunate. What has it been
that's
like
really
for
good.
you, especially in government?
So I actually have been telling some friends of mine because, when this first started, when we first heard that we would be working from home, which for me was March 13th. That was the day that we were told, sorry, the day before we were told you're going to be working from home now. Okay, cool. I thought I would get a whole lot of time to do all those little projects that I had felt like I couldn't find time for, having to commute downtown from the suburbs every day to Queen's Park. So I thought I'd reorganize my closet, I'd do like some redecorating of my bathroom, and I would also get a chance to tap back into the artist part of me, do some writing, do some, videos, things like that. However, for me, this downtime hasn't actually been downtime because I have part of my job is to make sure that our media is kept informed about all of what is going on. And this is such a changing landscape, ever evolving day by day, hour by hour. I feel like I have kicked into overdrive and my life is kicked into overdrive in a sense that it's no longer like, I at least government was never a set amount of time and schedule, but I feel like even more so now than before. Because before, okay, I'd leave the office, I'd still maybe have calls, but I'd be able to, also turn off at some point because, hey, it's after hours and I'll get back to you. If I just knew that certain things weren't urgent, though there was always that urgent call at 8 o'clock on a Sunday and you had to get stuff together. So I was used to that. But now it's just been kicked into overdrive and I feel like I've got no time. And especially because you're working from home. So technically you're not supposed to be anywhere else but home. You should be constantly on your phone, constantly messaging. And that sort of divide between, okay, but this is my personal time now, this is my work time, has completely abolished, gone out the window, whatever you want to say. And I'm starting to feel overworked, which is very maybe different from everybody else. And I actually just got off a work call, and people are like, oh, I'm getting bored and stuff. I'm like, can you take my work? Can you please just take some of my work? I'll be so happy. They're talking about getting an opportunity to bake and taking their dogs for walks and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, just take my work, please, and thank you. And let me bake too. So it's challenging, let's just say. I feel like I want a vacation once I go back to work.
Right. And I mean, and we're blessed. I feel the same way. Like my day from March 6th is when I voluntarily told my team we're going to work from home.
Oh, wow. Great.
Yeah. And
That
we've taken,
was early.
well, it was, but we didn't want to take any chances. And some of the
Mm-hmm.
steps we've taken is we actually use things like Instacart and Uber Eats to deliver groceries to our staff's homes.
Yeah.
So we
Oh,
don't have to
nice.
worry about that. So we've been really busy, 7:30 in the morning to 11 p.m., 7 days a week. So we're
Oh,
starting to
wow.
feel it too. And I get
Mm-hmm.
where you're coming from. But the interesting thing is though, and I want to commend you, whether you're directly involved, indirectly involved, is a good government steps up during crisis. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm not surprised that you're overworked.
Right.
Every single government worker in every branch of meaningful government is
Mm-hmm.
overworked. And politics aside, it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't matter to me what your political affiliation is. I want to commend Doug Ford and his government. I want to commend Trudeau and the federal government. They have
Mm-hmm.
done such an amazing job. When you study politics and
Yeah.
economic societal change, the amount of congruity that we have had from
Mm-hmm.
top to bottom has been
Yes,
phenomenal. So
it has been.
thank you for being overworked right now.
Oh,
I appreciate it.
well, thank you. And you're right. I really do feel grateful that we live in this country right now because, and especially when I see the governance happening, south of our borders,
Mm,
with our cousins down south, like I am just so thankful that that's not what it's like over here. And, I think the premier's doing a fantastic job of, there are people who've said, I've never liked him before, but right now, I really respect him. And you need that sort of leadership. And you need to feel when you're in a country like Canada that you can rely on your government. And I think we do that often, but especially in a time of crisis, like you said, this is all coming together. And yeah, it's unprecedented times for everybody. I don't think any of us were old enough to be alive during the last pandemic, which was 1918. So, and we were just in also a very different world. I think we're actually really lucky, to be more connected, have these opportunities of doing Zoom calls and video calls and just phone calls, even compared to 1918, right? Do you feel, Marcus, that you have an opportunity to be more in contact with friends and family now that you don't always have to maybe plan to go out, just pick up the phone and do a Zoom call?
Yeah, it's a great question. And you know what? Generally, people don't ask me questions on the show. So thank you for starting a new trend. I love the questions. I had a guest on a couple of days ago. His name's Mike Reed, a friend of mine from Dent Global. And
Mm-hmm.
they have a concept called reset and reinvent. And what I have loved about
Oh,
this
what's that?
idea, yeah, it's about taking a moment to reconnect with people, to really remember who we are as people, and to focus
Mm-hmm.
again on what matters, what is meaningful, and that one thing that we're really good at. Because so many of us, whether you're entrepreneurs, full-time employees, we're always just scraping by, doing all of these different things to get
Mm-hmm.
ahead. And we're so just spread out that we forget the reason we do these things in the first place is to nurture the relationships that matter to us.
That's
So to
very
answer
true.
your question, Yeah, I mean, not out of guilt, not out of fear, but just genuinely wanting to reconnect with people. I'll give you an example. Last Saturday
Mhm.
night, I did an online Cards Against Humanity game.
Oh,
Um,
fun.
yeah,
Yeah.
so we opened it up to whoever wanted to come, and I connected.
Oh, it's online. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
So
and I
whoever
reconnected.
could join. Okay.
Right. So yeah, there's a website called playingcards.io. I'll put a link in there for that, and it allows you to play Cards Against
Hmm.
Humanity, other games, and whatever. And then we had a Zoom call, and we had a ton of
Okay.
people
Yeah.
show up. I got to reconnect with friends I haven't talked to in years, just through Facebook, but to see
Right.
their face, reconnect.
Yeah.
Met a couple of new people I'd ever met before. They, of course, most of them didn't know each other. I was the common point, so they got to
Okay.
meet some new friends. There might have been some drinking involved, and I think we
There
kind
should be,
of, there
you
should.
know, it's games like this are always more fun while drinking, you know.
Absolutely.
Okay, wait, I'm gonna let you finish your story, then you
Oh
tell
no, that's
them.
okay. The story was pretty much done. I mean, we almost forgot about the game just because it was so good to reconnect. So we just started
Yeah,
socializing by Zoom.
right. You know, I must say that I actually during this time I was, oh, I have to, this is like my COVID-19 story. This will be my COVID-19 story, is that I was actually supposed to be in India for a friend's wedding. And then I was to be celebrating my birthday in India right after the wedding. So the wedding and the way that I was going to be celebrating it was the eve of my birthday, because in India, your birthday eve is a big thing and they do lots of stuff. So I had a bunch of friends obviously going to that wedding, and we were all going to be in this place called Udaipur, which is in Rajasthan. And Rajasthan is known for all of the palaces, and this is where the
Mm.
royalty of India used to live. And that's my jam, Marcus. Like I love anything sort of royal. um, and we were going to be staying at a lake palace on my birthday eve with a bunch of friends, and then the next day we were going to be on a flight to a beach in Goa, and that's where I was going to spend. I would have been touched down at about 2 o'clock in the afternoon and had the rest of the day to bum out on a beach, and it was just going to be incredible. So then from that to, hey, listen, trips canceled, weddings off, like weddings postponed, trips canceled. Oh, and by the way, you have to stay inside on your birthday. And if anybody knows me, I'm that girl who loves to go out, loves to have fun, loves to party. And especially on the day that's designated for me, like, come on. So it was a big, you know, bummer for me, but things like Zoom and family and friends. I'm very fortunate to actually right now live at home, like, you know, Indian people tend to do. You, before you're married, you still stay at home with your parents, doesn't matter how old you are. And that's what I'm doing. So I'm really lucky that I have my parents here right now. And they did an incredible job of making my day fantastic along with my boyfriend. So it was so lovely. And then they had organized like a Zoom call with all of my friends. So like 20, 30 people were on this call together, and it was incredible. And then I also had some friends and my brother and sister-in-law drop in for physical distancing, sharing drinks. And you know, they were outside, we were inside, or we were on the porch, but they were away, but we were cheersing in the air, playing Taboo, playing Heads Up, having a great time like that. So it ended up being a wonderful time. And I just, through that, I learned that we can adapt and we can find different ways, and we all should really be thankful for things that still connect us. And you know, it was different. You have to change. Like, I didn't really like the fact, to be honest, that my brother and sister-in-law couldn't come inside. Like, I hated it, you know, and I couldn't give them a hug. They couldn't come in. And that was hard for me to deal with. But, you know, I realized that this is what we all have to do our part, and we all have to be safe and make sure we flatten that curve and shut this thing down so we can go back to normal living very soon. But on that, have you found that anyone's talked about people being fearful of the
Oh
new
yeah,
normal
yeah.
because
That
of
comes up
like
every time we do the show.
lack of interaction even, or people are walking, and I haven't experienced this, but some people have told me that no one says hi anymore. People are just scared, like, oh my God, I got to walk the other way, or like, don't talk to me. I even had a girlfriend in outside of London. She had to pull over her car, she had to pull her car over because her daughter was choking on a sock. Like she had taken the sock off, like little toddlers, put it in her mouth, choked, pulled over. The child like threw up, all of that stuff. She's dealing with this like child going crazy, lots of people walking by, but no one stopped to even say, are you okay? And
Right.
that was really like, disheartening like that and sad, and started making people in my friend circle think that like, are we losing our humanity in all of this? I don't know. What have your thoughts or experiences been on this?
Yeah, so it's been interesting because what happened initially, and I think some of it is exactly what you're talking about. It's the unknown because we don't know. So
Mm-hmm.
firstly, like me, I love affection. I'm a big hugger. I'm gonna miss that if that doesn't continue. And I've asked people, what do you think is it gonna be? Is it gonna be finger guns? Good to see you. Is
Yeah, right. Like elbows,
it right? Or is it gonna be the Japanese, the bow and that's
hugs.
so it'll be interesting to see what
Oh
happens.
wait, no, this is a Indian, the namaste, right? So, and the
There you
bow's
go.
Japanese, so
Okay, right, right.
that's the hands
Um,
together. Yeah.
in regards to the fear, though, there was initially two polarizing reactions, and this is all part of
Hmm.
that stage one grief I mentioned. Is there's the one group of people that were, and some still are, that meh, this is minimal. We're going to get back to work soon. Life will go back to normal. I'm not really paying attention. I don't care. And nowadays it's called I just read the term. It's called like intentional ignorance or something like that. Like
Okay.
things
Yeah.
and just ignore it. And then on the other end, there was the overreaction of people, the toilet paper hoarding, the buying every food possible, just,
Hmm.
not wanting
Oh,
anything
that
to
was
do with
crazy.
anyone.
Yeah.
And again, both of those are out of fear. And what some of the leading psychologists have determined, Upeka, is that it's not fear of the virus or anything like that. It's fear of what's to come for society, that we're
Hmm.
grieving that the fact that at some level we accept that the old is dead,
Yeah.
right? And we don't know what the new is going to be. So a lot of these
Hmm.
things we're doing, like, even let's talk grocery store frontline workers. These companies are spending tons of money putting up shielding so that they're protected
Yeah.
from potential viruses, possibly also
Hmm.
from violent altercations. And when this all
Hmm.
passes, do you really think they're gonna, just dump that money and tear it all down? Of course not. That'll be part of the new normalization.
Not for a while, like because
Right.
it's going to be like a phased in approach, right? So yeah.
Exactly. So it should be interesting. And I mean, even now, some people are adjusting. A lot of people were looking forward to the CERB and other things that are available. Some business owners are starting to apply
Hmm.
for the $40,000 bank loans and stuff like that. But then you get
Yeah.
caught up in the details. And this is where what we talked about earlier, why media, especially government media, is so important. So, for example, yesterday they talked about
Hmm.
with CERB, oh yeah, we're going to make it so you can still work up to 10 hours per week. But when it all went live, it's still no, you can't work at all. So that was confusing for people, and they had to clarify, oh no, 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 we're considering that and looking into that, right? So
Right.
it's
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
so part of tying back to earlier, part of what's been great for people has been the ability to have so much information and communication. At the same time, that's also been to our detriment. Back to
Detriment. It
19,
always is.
yeah, in
Yeah.
1918, when we would get the information eventually, it was accurate. And what I really find nowadays that is
Hmm.
frustrating for me is, and please, I don't know what your opinion is on this. I'm happy to see this in modern media. I still believe it should be, here is the facts to the story. Here is my opinion on those facts, right? If at all.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whereas nowadays,
It's
mostly what you
presented.
get, yeah,
Yeah.
what you get most of the time now is you actually get, hey, here's my opinion, but I'm going to present it as facts. And it can be very damning.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Because people don't, many people, I mean, you have the aptitude to understand that and to see both sides of it. Some people don't, right? And some people honestly had that faith in media as the vehicle where we will get our information. And I feel like that has been eroded by and large by the need to stay on air and to have like, you know, what we called in India TRPs, which are just ratings, really, to have your
Mhm.
ratings up, right? So, and sensational media is what sells over here, which is really unfortunate because it obviously doesn't do anybody good. I personally do not like watching the news. I now find myself in a job where I have to watch the news all the time and I have to be a part of it, which is ironic in a different way. But I think that what I do know is that when this all started with media, we were asked and told to, or no, media had committed, mainstream media had committed to presenting facts, like just taking out the narrative, like the personal narrative out of it, or the editorial narrative, and just sort of present facts. And I think that that's where it all started from, which is why, at least in Ontario, we have been very good, and I guess in Canada as well, but been very good in disseminating information, but just understanding, of course, that everything is changing so quickly. Like, to stay on top of this
What's
is,
changing?
oh,
Yeah,
hello,
we
I
got
think
some
I
people
lost
in.
you.
Let me just mute.
What's changing?
Wait.
Yeah. Okay.
What's
So I've just
changing?
go ahead. Interesting.
What's changing? Can you answer me? What's
So,
changing, mate?
sorry.
mate.
Hey, so I've muted everybody, but for some reason it's
Oh,
not.
are there people on this call? I didn't.
Yeah. Okay.
Right, listen.
So,
We're
so I've
hackers, mate. We're
unmuted you.
hackers. We're hackers.
Hey there. Sorry. So everyone, I've muted you, but for some reason you're
Shut
able
up.
to mute yourselves. Okay.
Hey.
There. So I'm muting everybody except for you, Uppheka. So for those of you that have joined us, I appreciate you being here. Please
On this,
type your
back to meeting.
messages in the
There we
chat,
go.
and we'll answer them there, please. Don't just be jumping in on the conversation. Let's respect Uppheka's time and the fact that, you know, she's our speaker today. So thank you very much. Yep, please. If you have a question, just type it in the chat, and I'll make sure we get to it. Sorry, go ahead, Uppheka.
All right, people are asking what, oh, we can't ignore what's changing. What, I don't even know what he was referring to.
Right,
Actually,
me neither.
sorry.
I'm not sure either, because there's so much
I don't
changing
know.
right now. So
Mhm.
yeah, it's very interesting. There is a lot going on, and now what's happening? Now we're seeing Professor Pig on the screen. It's wow, that's hilarious. Lots of interesting things happening. I have never had this much chaos in a call before. You must have a lot of fans that.
Oh, geez, I don't even know what's happening.
No, me
Oh, well,
neither.
someone needs to get blocked. That's what that looks like.
Yeah, so what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna put you as the spotlight video. My goodness, so many people doing interesting things. I've never had anyone take over the meeting like this before. Oh, and now they're swearing, that's fun. So let's, wow, interesting. I wonder how I can stop them from doing that. Let's see. Oh, good stuff. You know what? If people continue to be disrespectful like this, I am just going to have to disable everything. Let's see. Only the host can share. Goodbye. Okay, there we go. So now everybody's muted. Nobody else can share screens. And it's just you and me talking. Talk about learning experiences, eh? There we go. Back to just us. Did you hear any of that?
I didn't hear any of that, but I'm just sorry. Give me 1 second.
No problem. Alt+4, Alt+4. Perfect. Okay, there we go. I'm learning something new. Thank you, Kate, for that. Lots of neat new learnings. I've never actually had to lock down a meeting like that before. So, wow. Okay. So yeah, so what we've done is I've locked out sharing 100%. No one can screen share except me. So that's good to know. Learning curve, fun. And the only people that can talk are me and you, but somehow you're muted. So did you mute yourself? Because I'm saying, there we go.
I'll unmute myself. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now.
Okay.
Woo, good times. Look at you. What a fan base. All these people coming to see you. So,
I don't know about that, but.
So where were we? What were we talking about? I think we were talking about just adjusting to the changes, about people not being as social. And in the process of all of this, are we losing a bit of our humanity? And that's an interesting question, because in some ways, yeah, like we've really reconnected with people. We're connecting more than ever before. And yet in other ways, you're right. We absolutely are not connecting, and we're becoming less social with each other. And it's interesting to see what motivates that. But let's talk about that for you. Like, you've been at home this whole time. You're with your family. Have you been
Yeah.
out at all for any type of supply runs or anything like that?
So I live in an overprotective Indian family where I should be the one who goes out to do the grocery shopping, but my mom won't let me. So she's the one who goes, and no matter what. But there's a back history to that. So, however, I have been out for drives, I've been out for walks, and I think that that has really been necessary for me to get out into. I go for runs every day, so that is part of my I guess you can say my schedule to keep sane. I also am able to video chat with friends from around the world here and there. And, you know, one was telling me a beautiful story. She lives somewhere outside of London, a different friend outside of London. And she lives in the Portuguese quarters, and they were all singing to each other every day at 7. There's another guy out in Vancouver who's doing these big, like, house I don't want to say house parties, but he's a DJ, and he is playing music, and people from condos all around get together and start dancing and have a good time, ring their like pots and pans. So it's a lot of it's different, but I feel very fortunate right now to be in this time to get out and to still have people around that want to talk and still be involved. And there's a lot going on here. I don't see you anymore, Marcus.
Yeah, no, I'm here. I promise I'm here, but just ignore the rest. You really don't want to look in the chat.
I don't even know where. Okay, there we go.
Yeah, I'm here. Just, yeah, you can pin me if you want so that I'm the only one you see.
Okay.
But yeah. Well, and you know, it's interesting too. So we live in a relatively new complex, and we are fortunate. We have rooftop patios, so we get that little breath of fresh air and everything.
Yeah.
And we have our own private community Facebook group. And now someone suggested, hey, let's respect the physical distancing rules, but let's organize a barbecue, right?
Okay.
Everyone up on their rooftops, but you know, obviously there's walls in between. We're going to stay on our own rooftops, and we're just going to have a big community barbecue, music playing, drinks a going, just to reconnect in some way, just to be social.
Yeah, I think those things are really important. Even yesterday, actually, my boyfriend and I were out for a walk, and we saw another couple, and we knew them, and it was just like, oh my God, human interaction from someone not in our house, right? So that was really, really nice. Also, we crossed the street, but we still maintain that like more than a hockey stick sort of distance. And it was just great to have conversations in person, you know? And I'm also we're trying to, I've heard about friends kind of getting together in a parking lot with cars all around or somewhere in a park, and just opening up their trunks, sitting out with like, you know, a beer and having a good time.
No, absolutely. And there is a lot of that kind of thing going on. I mean, in some ways it actually reminds me of The Walking Dead, because well, essentially what's happening is, you know, seeing another human being has become such a rare occurrence that when you do see them, it's either the reaction to avoid them, or to, you know, say hello and hope they're friendly. And not contagious.
Yeah, and you know what? I think, Marcus, we all need to do our part to make sure that being absolutely socially being isolated as individuals is not the new normal. So I really think that it's important. I make it a point. I might not have done it before all the time, but now when I'm out for my walks, I make it a point to just not just say hi or smile, like, hey, how are you doing? Like, are you hanging in there? Like, are you okay? I think just having those little bit more conversations that you might even if it's at a distance, it means a lot. And I think that will go a long way in ensuring that people don't feel that this is just a cold Walking Dead world out there, right? Though it does look like that half the time when you go outside.
Yeah, no, I hear you. And, you know, and honestly, that's, for me, that's been one of the most rewarding things about social media and all these new technology platforms as a whole, is in many ways, we're actually using them as they were intended. People sharing their gifts with the world, people sharing their abilities with the world, people just connecting simply to say exactly what you said. Hey, how are you? How can I help you? Are you okay?